When it comes to Stellar, this is a project that I personally believe is in a league of its own. It's very similar to, Hedera or even XDC, where I do think that these projects are being extremely overlooked at a crucial point in time. Because we could obviously see that, Wall Street and the institutional players are moving on chain. They're tapping into specific networks. They're choosing the right networks that they see fit for their use cases. And believe it or not, some of these networks like Stellar are being tapped in a big way. Yet most people are still avoiding the elephant in the room, which is the fact that Stellar is a massive name. In fact, it already has over $470 million tied to it around tokenized value. And they are looking to scale this extremely fast. So let's actually start off with this post from Stellar, which is Stellar is the second largest layer 1 for RWA value after Ethereum, with around $470 million in tokenized treasuries, commodities, and yield-bearing stablecoins on the network. And yeah, it is the second largest by value on RWA.xyz around tokenized value. And again, you wouldn't even guess this because most people are not talking about this. Like, it's crazy that this post only has 70, almost 4,000 views. Engagement's extremely weak. Like, everyone should be talking about XLM at this point. Now, if we actually go over to the article, we could see the first, portion of this. Number one, you could actually see the value of Stellar. And here we have Stellar focuses on billions in tokenized RWAs. But Ethereum isn't the only layer 1 blockchain contributing to the growth of tokenized RWAs. Daniel Dixon, executive director of Stellar Development Foundation, told Crypto News that the Stellar network ranks second right behind Ethereum for the most tokenization use cases. Stellar is the second largest layer 1 for RWA value after Ethereum, with around $470 million in tokenized treasuries, commodities, and yield-bearing stablecoins on the network. She elaborated that in November of 2019, Franklin Templeton, one of the world's largest financial institutions, started planning to build a tokenized money market fund on Stellar. By the way, this is a very good highlight of just how long some of these things do take. Like, everyone is sitting around saying, oh, like, why isn't the value of XLM moving or the value of XRP moving? Like, I want to see, like, we're hearing all this adoption, but it's not actually happening. Franklin Templeton reached out back in November of 2019. We didn't see that value move on chain until like 2024. So think about how crazy that is. Franklin Templeton has since grown its on-chain US government money market fund to be the third largest tokenized money market fund. The fund is available on Ethereum, Coinbase's layer 2 base, Aptos, and Avalanche, but the Stellar network functions as the primary blockchain. According to Dixon, the on-chain US government money market fund has about $701.7 million in total asset value, with the majority of $466.5 million being on the Stellar network. By tokenizing securities, this integration enables institutions to reduce transaction costs from $1 to less than a penny. The 50,000 cost of 50,000 transactions becomes just $120, she noted. And yeah, here we actually have that quote. This is from Franklin Templeton. They're actually explaining the value here. They're explaining as followed: if 50,000 transactions are processed in the traditional financial system, the fees alone amount to about $50,000. However, when they utilize Stellar to tokenize RWA, real world assets, and manage operations, the cost of processing 50,000 transactions was only $120. Currently, Franklin Templeton is managing assets worth approximately $500 million on Stellar. The vice president remarks, what kind of efficiency gains could we see if the company were to transfer 1.7 trillion of assets to Stellar? Even excluding the benefits from reduced fees, they estimate that the $200 million spent annually on remediation could be immediately cut. How much larger will the assets transferred to Stellar grow in the future, and how many financial apps will be built on top of it? And, this is a very good thing to see, because this is legitimacy. This is proof that it works. This is proof of how efficient Stellar actually is. But check this out.
$1 million a year on remediation and reconciliation. If we can move all the 1.7 trillion of our assets, currently we have about 500 million. If we can move that all onto blockchain, we will save $200 million, excluding the transaction costs, which will be, 0.0025 of what they are today. So it's huge. It's just, the big move is moving from a multi-custodial $1 million a year on.
So yeah, I mean, obviously they are preparing for this. They're planning ahead already. They're telling you that this is eventually going to happen. But they're starting small. And small in this case is about $500 million almost on Stellar. Now, on top of that, we just got a huge update from the SEC. Now, I did include this in an XRP video as well, but when we think about this event, this is all of Wall Street. All of Wall Street is tied back to this roundtable discussion with the SEC, tokenization, moving assets on chain, where TradFi and DeFi meet. And what's crazy about this is if we actually look at the names, like here you have Franklin Templeton, partnered up with Stellar, the DTCC. We're going to come back to that, but they're already connected with Stellar in a big way. And then you also have additional players on here as well. Wisdom Tree is here as well. I don't know if I know Wisdom Tree was a part of this discussion, but I don't think it's actually labeled here. But I do know that Wisdom Tree was addressing this as well. But Wisdom Tree is also a partner of Stellar's in a big way. That's also tokenizing value on the network. And talking more so about Wisdom Tree, we do know that recently they did put out a post on the 5th, which was titled "Tokenized Assets Are Scaling Fast, and the Market Must Evolve with Them." And this is with, Stellar, with the DTCC as well. We have regulation, custody models, and infrastructure are the demands that we need to really embrace tokenization at scale. But it's crazy to see Wisdom Tree, the DTCC, and Stellar, all together. Like when we think about all of these big names, when we think about all of the names that are here tokenizing in a big way, telling us that they're going to tokenize even more, it's all revolving around specific networks like Stellar, or even Hedera, or even the XRP Ledger, and Algorand as well. I love to see this because these are very efficient networks. Now, on top of that, the DTCC just announced on the 2nd their Great Collateral Experiment showcased the transformative potential of institutional decentralized finance, illustrating how digital technology can connect siloed systems, optimize capital utilization, and enhance collateral efficiency. Now, like I said, the DTCC is connected back to Stellar in a big way because we know that they acquired Securrency. This happened back in December of 2023. Okay, they went all in on digital assets, on DeFi, and on tokenization. This is when they started to move heavy. And we know that on the Stellar website under service providers, we know that Securrency is one of the listed tokenization services players here. Here we have Securrency. They're bringing liquidity and access to new digital assets through compliance-aware tokenization. We also know on the old Securrency website that we have Securrency's protocol can be utilized on the Ethereum, Stellar, Ripple, EOS, and other distributed ledgers, as well as legacy systems, allowing for seamless on-chain and off-chain movement of tokens. And yeah, this is something that I am heavily focused on because, the DTCC is now the owner of Securrency. It, got sunsetted into DTCC Digital Assets, I believe. And, they're moving $3.7 quadrillion per year. That number only rises more and more year over year as well. And now they're going all in on, institutional decentralized finance, on tokenization. It's crazy to see the types of moves being made around the space. And it's something that I've highlighted for years now. But the fact that we have a roundtable where we have names like BlackRock, Fidelity, NASDAQ, Invesco, all of these massive names that are, Wall Street giants, TradFi giants, they're here now talking about tokenization, capital markets 2.0, the evolution of finance. Things are changing. Things are moving on chain. We are seeing the bridge built between TradFi and DeFi. We are about to witness a much larger move from the institutional side. Right now, the overall value tied back to networks in this space in terms of tokenized value is $11.64 billion. I just want you guys to realize that the numbers tied back to these names that were at this roundtable are over $20+ trillion in assets under management, and they want to bring this on chain. We are barely scratching the surface of where tokenization is actually headed. And I do believe that a lot of these networks like Stellar are going to see a lot more money tied back to them and, brought on chain. I am heavily focused on tokenization. I think that this is where most of the money in crypto will be made over the next 5, 10 plus years. Everything around us is changing. Finance is moving on chain. Fiat currencies are moving on chain. The FX market as we know it is starting to move on chain. This is through stablecoin initiatives. It is crazy that we don't have more people talking about this. Now, addressing this, we did get a big update as well around Stellar, by the way, if you guys really did want to track Stellar in a big way, because, you know, we could track it on rwa.xyz. We could see the RWA value, the stablecoin market cap, things like that on Stellar, which is great to see. This is, you know, obviously great. Transfer volume on Stellar, you can't really track this. There's no value or there's no data around the transfer volume. But over here, we did get a big update that the Stellar portal is now live, built by Masari Crypto, which gives us an insight on a lot of this stuff, right? We can actually see the RWA transfer volume, which in the last 3 months is $22.6 billion. This is being moved over Stellar. And if we look at the 1 year as well, we could see how much is moving over Stellar in the last 1 year. It's about 22.6 billion. Again, by the time that we don't have a full year yet on the actual transfer volume, but you know, this is still very good to see. But if we look at the 3-month chart here, we could see the RWA market cap is actually now at 812 million, which is interesting because, again, like I said, if we go back over here, it's about 486 million. I don't know if they're adding just like the stablecoin market. I think that that's exactly how they're getting the 812 million. But we could see the operation active addresses, operations count, and then RWA transactions themselves. In the last 3 months, 47.3 million RWA transactions. We could see the 1 month as well. I think that this still needs to be updated because it is a little bit broken. But, you know, we are starting to see a lot of momentum here. And I love to see this being tracked and traced as well. I think that this is great to see. And I absolutely love this. I love this from Masari. And we could also see the quarter over quarter change here from like the RWA market cap, the total transactions as well, and the total volume. So, you know, I think that this is great to track. I'm going to keep a close eye on this. Obviously, this is still pretty new. This is still pretty fresh. So I suspect that this is going to get a lot of updates over the coming weeks to really kind of be consistent with the API data. But, you know, so far we could see that Stellar is a big player here. And we already know that currently, you know, 486 million, they want to 10x this to almost $5 billion by the end of the year. We know that, you know, Danielle Dixon is talking about this. And the entire team from Stellar is talking about this as well. And I think that when we think about tokenization, this is going to be a huge catalyst. It's going to be a huge catalyst, not just for, you know, Stellar, but for the entire space. And I do think that this is what's going to cause XLM to become extremely valuable in this space as well, which is why I think everyone should be focused on XLM at this current point in time. And also the other networks. I think that this is, you know, where we really start to see the real value unlocked around this tech. So, you know, focus on like the top 10 list here, the top 10 list around the space around tokenized value. I definitely think that there's some great gems here listed. I think that we're going to see a lot of big changes around this list, you know, towards the end of this year as well. So definitely stay focused on this, add it to your, you know, bookmark this website, rwa.xyz, because I think that this is one of the best websites for data tracking around tokenization. But, you know, it seems as though we're starting to see Wall Street wake up. We're starting to see finance moving on chain, and specific networks like Stellar are being tapped in a big way. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, so notifications on, because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.